Good
Hey,
morning,
good
Kevin. How are you
morning.
doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I got a little bit of feedback here.
Uh-oh.
What's going
Getting
on?
getting all settled back in from all your traveling last week
Yes, that is exactly it.
and getting ready to travel again next week.
Yes.
And
Uh,
for those that don't know, right, the travel be for the big fabric conference coming up next week.
yes. And okay, so here's what we got going on. We are going to be live streaming from the conference. So if you see me, we are going to be going live right at the conference. We'll be doing interviews. We'll be like, it's going to be like vertical streaming and stuff. We won't have this echo going on. But if you see me, like, come up, happy, like, love to do an interview with you, understand like where you're at with fabric, what you got going on. We go see it on this channel. I do have got all sorts of stickers, and I've even got Fabric Friday buttons that are available. I got no Dex columns. Here we go. I've got no Dex column stickers. I've got my fabric formulas, and I've just got some general inspiration stickers. Let's see here. What's a good one here? Oh, that one sucks.
All
Good.
right, let's not bring that one then.
Forget the mistake. Remember the lesson. Right? Like
That is a good one.
all sorts of wonderful, like motivational things to get you up, to get you going. Oh, and I've also got Bob's Burgers stickers because I like Bob's Burgers. And so we'll be giving those out at the conference. So.
All kinds of good inspirational messages, but one.
Oh, just kind of, it's long. Any with cats? I don't know if I have cats, but
Oh man.
but yeah.
What was
A
what
few
was
things. And know before you go.
yeah.
And Kevin, I'm saying this because maybe
No,
you
you're
want to know this, but um, I have two cats, Dax and Moses, or I'm sorry, Moses and Aaron are somewheres around here. They're not as camera friendly as Dax is, though. They seem to just immediately dart off camera whenever I bring it out. All right, so a few know before you go things. Power in the conference is going to be a bit of a challenge. Microsoft has all these like power stations though that you can go to. You can charge up your phones, your laptops, all that good stuff. But if you have any of these like bigger like you can fly with it batteries that you can bring, it's a really good idea to have them charged up, ready to go, and bring this along with you to the conference, and then charge it every night. You want to be as like power independent as possible. Yep. Oh, there you go. Look at that.
I'll have to recharge it. I don't think I got another one too, but I might bring two.
Okay. Yeah. Do check it out. They are they're super valuable. Going to be at the conference. The conference is huge. Like we saw the layout map of this place at the MGM. Like, and we were talking with the Jason Himmelstedt, who's organizing and stuff like that. He said he walked around for a day, like planning stuff out and whatnot, and he put on like millions of steps and stuff like that. He said he like walked like 6 to 10 miles in a given day. So like make sure you've got good shoes, good socks, and that you stay hydrated because you're not going to realize it, but like you're going to have walked around like a ton while you're there. I will also have Excedrin on me. That is how I manage like that bunch walking and stuff. So if you're having a struggle with things, hit me up. I'll have some Excedrin. I mean, not that I'm going to handle drugs or anything like that, but you know, maybe I will not have Excedrin on me.
Stina says she'll get her steps and earn her $2 with her health care. So
well, there you go.
they have their incentive program. Gotta like
All
it.
right. That's a
But
good deal.
I stepped away and I kind of got lost in the chat. There was something that I think you mentioned. You put out a question. Did you see Fabric Fan on LinkedIn?
Oh
What
yeah.
is that?
Did you
How
guys
does
see the Fabric Fan on LinkedIn? Oh my gosh.
no? I don't think. Is it a new group? Is
No,
it
no, 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 no,
like an
no,
actual
no.
fan?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Let me share my screen. This is crazy. Uh,
something to cool all those data centers or something?
right, 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 right. Like, take a look at this thing.
Okay, cool.
Oh my gosh! Like, how awesome is this thing?
And who's giving those away?
It's Ikisu. I don't. Maybe that's completely wrong. But he's a program manager on the Fabric Cat team. Um, he's going to be in Vegas. I'd said I'd pay $10 to $20 for this thing. But it's making me now immediately regret that I signed up for the first round of Ask the Experts each day. So because these are just going to be gone. All right.
Yeah,
Just I mean, how awesome is that, right?
that's
That's
pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but oh man, what's going on here? But
No, I'm back.
yeah, you're back. In Vegas, ooh, hey, he's bringing some to Fabricon. He is in the chat. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Um, yeah,
Nice.
so they'll be
How
there.
do
That's
how do we reserve them?
yeah, yeah. Can I place a pre-order? I will pay if you bring it to me at Fabricon. I'll give you $20, right? Like, um, I'd pay cash for that guy, right? That's awesome. Um, so do walk around. There's tons of sessions. We had a conversation today about or yesterday with some of the people because I'm going with a couple of people from Baker Tilly. We're all going to be there. But they're like, there's 4 sessions in each block of speaking that they want to go
Hmm.
to. How do we divide and conquer? How do we manage the stuff? So, I mean, there's just going to be a ton there. Kevin,
Yeah.
we're going to be doing the Ask the Experts Lounge, right?
Yeah, ask the experts or the community lounge or whatever. Yeah, you're a little bit more up to date since I didn't make it live to the event last week. But yeah, I've been looking through. I think there's a couple different things. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm in a couple of them. I'm also in a if you're going to it, there's a whole diversity special lunch going on. They're going to have multiple topics. One of them is going to be about mental health, and I'm going to sit at that table to try to
Mm.
help run the conversation there. I think there's like women in technology and a whole bunch of other, um, diversity type groups getting together to talk about, what it's like for you as a group or whatever within technology. So if you're looking for that, that's on Wednesday. I'm going to help out with that.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. I'm going to be in
yeah,
the Ask the Expert Lounge. The first sessions after each, there's a keynote on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they have sessions after that. I'll be in the Ask Experts Lounge in the first sessions of every single day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if you have questions or you just want to meet and connect and you want to know where I'm at, you can find me every single day. First day, I'll be there with my Carlo. Day 2, Kevin, you're going to be there. I understand
yeah.
you have a different table than me. You can't sit at the same table. I understand. People say we look alike, right? Is that the argument on Twitter that me and you look alike, or is
Well, no, it's the argument that me and Kevin Chant look alike. I guess
all right?
him and I have been confused for each other, or he has been confused for me recently. So yeah, we got some stories to tell there. I have never met Kevin in person. Him and I are going to work one of the fabric sessions together. So I think that's going to be fun to finally meet him in real life. We've interacted a little bit here and there, but to see kind of maybe why a couple people. One was on Twitter, and I think they just grabbed the wrong handle real quickly or something like that. But one was in real life, so we're gonna have some
Oh,
fun
did
with this one.
Arun mistake you?
Arun asked Kevin Chant something about Fabric Friday, mistaking him for us. So we may have him as a guest speaker in a future session. We're working on that arrangement.
Yeah, and I think it's well, we'd love to have Arun. So Arun, if you
Yeah.
ever get this, like,
Ooh.
you are welcome anytime on Fabric Fridays. We will clear the slate. We'll make
Yes.
sure nobody has says anything bad in the chat. Like, you're welcome on at any point in time. But I think we're talking more likely
Yeah.
to
We're
get
get, we're getting
cabbage.
But let's just take Stina's question, right? Is all this held in the MGM or adjacent site? It's all in the MGM, right?
Yep.
Yeah, everything that I saw, the layout and things like that, it's all the halls. The MGM's got some big halls, right? And it's taking that whole thing
Well, and there's
and using
multiple
it up.
floors,
Right.
and yeah, so like the Ask the Experts Lounge is on the second floor. Uh, I mean, it's gonna be in the
It's
front or the back of the second floor, depending upon how you go in, right?
Yeah.
um,
Well, and that what I thought was interesting is the lanyard color that you're issued is going to determine where you have lunch at,
oh,
right? Because
really?
they got that was one of the things. There's different lunch rooms.
Mm,
One looks to be like where the floor, right, the booth floor is going to be, and another one was somewhere else. But there are two different lunchrooms. So, yeah, Stina,
mm.
if when you get there, you get to the MGM, everything will be if within walking. I don't know if you're staying right at the MGM or somewhere close by, but once you get in there, trust me, you'll be able to find it. It's gonna be one of those big things going on. So.
Yeah, there'll be signs all over the place.
Hmm.
Uh, if you're in the MGM, you'll just be there the whole time. You'll find it
Yeah.
really hard to find a window to leave the event, just because like they've got stuff going from the crack of dawn. Well, I mean,
Until late at night, some
yeah.
nights, yeah.
In fact, I got invited to something it's from 8 to 10, and then I was doing the math. I'm like, oh, that's from 10 to midnight where I'm at. That sounds like a young person's game. Like, you might as well invite
Mhm.
me to something that from midnight to 2 a.m. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then I think Wednesday is the attendee social, right? So
Yep.
that'll be really nice on, getting onto where the vendor floor is and everything. So that'll be a big thing. It's gonna be great. I don't know, how long it's been a long time since I've been at a conference this big. And these
Yeah.
big conferences are wonderful, right? They're really energetic and a
Well,
lot
they
going
are a
on.
ton of work. So, like, huge
Yeah.
shout out to Jason Himmelstead. If you see him at the conference, I'm sure he's going to be like, well, hopefully, like the stress has left him, because it'll like at that point in time that ball is rolling. But like he has been working so hard on this. Like, if you see him, give him a pen and back, buy him a beer or coffee, or I don't know if he drinks, so maybe he doesn't drink, but whatever, he like buy him a beverage, thank him for all of his
We'll
hard
find
work
out.
in getting this together. It's gonna be great.
No, I don't think it's at the Sphere. The Sphere is close, but I don't. This is not shaped like the big ball. That's the Sphere that I've heard about. Um, it'd be nice to kind of visit that, but I don't. Again, I don't know when we'll have time. So
Is the big ball a hotel?
I don't think so. I think it's a stage,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Because I just saw that there's some other big band that is going to have a residency there and stuff like that. So.
Okay.
And I just remember from the Super Bowl because it was in Vegas this year, they kept cutting over to the stage at the Sphere. So
Okay. Yeah. So Stina, little known fact, a little bit of trivia. I got married in Las Vegas, Little Whitechapel. We were the 42nd wedding online, so that was kind of cool for that you know 2001, I think it was. Oh my gosh, I should know. 2001. Yes.
we'll edit that out later so she
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
see it.
yeah. No, it's 2001. I know it is. So and then we went again 5 years later in 2006. We went to Vegas, but 2006 is the last time I was in Vegas, and all I've seen is construction after construction after construction. So I don't have any idea how this stuff works out. But if you're not already on the Whoville. Is it Whoville? Like the Dr. Seuss
The
app.
the app. I don't know how you pronounce that,
Yeah,
honestly.
it looks, every time I see the app for the Fabric conference, to me it's the Dr. Seuss app. It's like the Whoville app. Go sign up for it. You can connect with myself, connect with Kevin. You can ask us questions. You can find out where we're speaking or meeting and all that stuff. But there's tons of activity going on there. I don't think anyone's going to beat Mike Carlo when it comes to interactivity on that app. He's at 158,000 points. Like, I played with
Oh,
it for like an hour and I got 90 or 83 points. So like,
I didn't realize there was points earned on it. I haven't been. I've looked at it a little bit here and there. I've had a couple people reach out to me, but
Hoova,
hoova, hoova,
Hoova.
yeah.
Hoova. It's the Hoova app that you have to
Wow.
install.
So, is there a prize for getting the most points, the most
I don't
interactions?
know,
Or,
but at 158,000,
but Mike has already won that, is what we're
Yeah,
saying.
Mike Swins. Congratulations, Mike. Hands off. All
The
right,
contest
all
is
right.
over before it started.
We
All right,
get,
yeah, we're killing it today.
yeah.
This is,
We've disappointed everyone by talking so much about this. I know.
wait
I
until
get
we get
feedback all
back.
the time. Yeah, like, we don't want to just watch you talk. We want to talk about Fabric. So
Yes.
let's talk about Fabric. And so we were going to talk today about query insights. Kevin,
Hmm.
I said to you
Yeah.
before the show, I'm like, what the heck are we talking about when it comes to query insights?
Yeah.
What does this
So,
mean?
yeah. So let's kind of say what it is, just in a, I'll say it in just a really brief thing, but then let's get back into the why, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
query insights, kind of like if you've managed SQL servers before, um, you always want to know what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be able to go back, and a lot of people say that we want to go back in time and say, what were these queries that were running? How big were they? How much time did they take? What's going on? How can I find this type of information? Well, query insights for data warehousing and for the SQL analytics endpoint allows you to see that. We're going to demo that a little bit later, right? But let's kind of switch that into, just why does this really matter, right? And Chris and I were kind of talking about this ahead of time, and it was really kind of interesting conversation about what does people's landscape with SQL servers look like today? What do you typically see, Chris? What do you for the clients that you've run into or things that you've done in the past? What have you come across?
Well, I mean, I think there's a niche solution situation, especially if you're in a smaller company. You have one SQL server, right, and that just
Hmm.
does all of the things, right? And uh, I think that's going to align very similar to how, like, Power BI Premium with AP capacity worked, right? You just had
Hmm.
one box to do all of the things. And
Yeah.
Power BI is, I mean, most companies, even if you had a premium capacity, you had one, maybe you had a handful of them. There are some companies that had many of them, but it was the oddity that you'd have many Power BI premium capacities. When I think about SQL Server, on the other hand, it's kind of the opposite. It's rare that you can get away with a singular SQL Server,
Yeah.
and
A
some
lot.
companies do, right?
Yeah, so like you said, some of the smaller companies, but even as some of the smaller companies, right? They especially if they didn't have the skill sets to kind of size out their machines or whatever, they kind of took an easy way out of going, well, we need a new database, let's spin up a whole new machine,
Yeah.
right? We'll purchase another machine, and then all of a sudden they find I got, six machines running six different databases, and each of them are running at 50% capacity, right?
Hmm.
So they overbought, put in too much just because they weren't sure on the growth or whatever. And even some of those, what I saw for a while in the industry is they were starting to do consolidations using things like VMware, right? And they would buy one bigger machine, put virtual machines on top of that, and then try use that as kind of a consolidation. So those six still would have got six different virtual machines, but they're running on one set of metal, right? And so this is when a lot of people were running their own metal and having to have their own kind of IT rooms, even air conditioned and everything within it, or started going to like places like Rackspace or whatever, where they started housing it in the server housing places, and so they started trying to consolidate it down. So we were kind of, kind of taking that model, right, and thinking about it. And like you just said, is and then as people went to premium with Power BI, right, their entry point was only premium at the P1, right? So you would have to hit that tipping point and then start consolidating all of your reporting part, into that one premium capacity to start getting the value out of it. Well, now we're kind of open back up again to the SQL Server type of thing. So where do we start, right? Do we go back to, do you have set up a bunch of smaller capacities for the six different workloads that you have, six different
Mm.
capacities, or one bigger capacity, right? And put the six of them on there. Or I know a lot of people running budgets that they want to be as cheap as possible. Can I get an F2 and put all six on there, right? But there's I think there is some value in consolidating it down to a capacity, but you were kind of thinking too that there's a lot of value in spreading it out to multiple capacities, right?
Well, and yeah, Kevin, you're spot on. I mean, Microsoft does an incredible job of Fabric having at its core the concept and the ability to have bursting and smoothing inside of capacity. So you can manage one capacity, which is
Hmm.
going to be your cloud CU that you have for any given 24-hour period, right? And that's just going to be everything that's going to be in there. So you're not over buying compute and like letting it just sit there, right? Like spinning up Azure SQL or a managed instance, and or even a database, and then so
Hmm.
you buy the database, you put all the time and money into it, you stand it up, and then you only use the CPU for like a small fraction of the day. That's
Right.
potentially a big waste of money. So having fewer capacities does make sense for managing your entire cloud spend.
Hmm.
But I
Or
think
yeah, or even worse, right? There are some workloads, right? Like we're running into tax season, right? Or
mm,
you get the end of the year accounting, that those workloads really shoot up. And when everything was on prem, people would have to overbuy just to hit that. And you're right, it would be running all year long, taking energy, taking everything else. But now
oh
we can manage that type of stuff.
yeah, hey, this is a small plug for you. If you do not have an accountant, you should get yourself an accountant. All right? Like accountants know accounting, they know taxes. Like you should get like a professional who knows all this stuff to like look over your finance, and like they are not crazy expensive. You're not going to spend $10,000 on them. But you may find that you get $10,000 more back in your return than what you would if without it. So that's just a completely side note there, right? So
Yeah, I
um,
would I would agree with that. I yeah. Anyways, so
oh,
you know,
but back to it.
back
Like,
to so
but
you so
if
you
you're a
come
company, you may have 50, 100, 1,000, 3,000 SQL servers out there. Now, I don't think you're going to have 3,000 Fabric capacities, but you're not going to have one, right? And
right.
I think we're going to see more and more. I mean, in Power BI, it was rare to see that company who had many, many, many premium capacities because you had to be super big, right?
Yeah.
Um, but now we're going to see many companies that have many Fabric capacities just because it's going to handle like increasing amounts of your data workload in the cloud.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's just going to make sense to kind of, you know, split it out or consolidate it, but you have to get some information in order to do that, right? And
Right,
we've talked
right.
about the capacity metric app, which is a good place to start. So previous videos have shown that. I think they continue to change it, and we may want to look at it again in the future, but we don't have that up today. But you start there and you kind of see, I'm using X amount of my capacity, but then you go, well, what's really kind of digging into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're saying that we're running a Fabric data warehouse, or we're running a lot of things through T-SQL, right? Because this query insights runs against your SQL Analytics endpoint, right? So remember, we set up a lakehouse. We have a SQL Analytics endpoint that comes with that we could run T-SQL statements with, and that's going to burn up some capacity units, and the Fabric warehouse in Microsoft Fabric. So that's where these come in. This is not for your Spark workloads. There's other
Mhm.
things to help you get deeper into what's going on into the Spark workloads. And you could potentially even go, if you're spinning up just like a smaller capacity for your data science people, right? Now you're fully billing just them over off of that capacity, right? I
Yeah.
think that
And
gets a lot into it as well. Hey,
hang on a second. Uh, Jack has a great question.
okay.
Jack is asking, if I've got many capacities, does that mean I have many tenants?
The answer is definitively no, right? So you have one tenant,
Mm-hmm.
which I tend to associate tenants with, say, like my domain name, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, that there's a way you can set up multiple tenants underneath, one thing, but typically people are going to start with just one tenant. There's even a concept of, you go tenant subscriptions, right? And you could even set up different subscriptions and put these capacities under multiple subscriptions, but then capacities are going to fall underneath that. And so, yeah, there are companies that have multiple tenants. It tends to be your bigger companies, or ones that got the multiple tenants because of mergers and acquisitions, right?
Yeah. So it's
And
mergers and acquisitions, and then
mhm,
companies have done things like they segment by tenant, especially if it's
right.
production and like dev test. Um, I'll say that there has been a big movement within those organizations that Microsoft has kind of acknowledged and seen, where everyone is striving to get down to one tenant. Like
Hmm.
having multiple tenants creates a ton of overhead and management, and the lines of sight and cross tenant capabilities is an issue. So look for more features and functionalities in the coming, years, where having a singular tenant is just like the de facto norm, even in very large companies, and
Hmm.
where it'll be easy for a company, if you acquire a company, it'll be easy for you to merge that into your tenant. So
Yeah. Yeah, because we see all kinds of questions coming up all the time of, how do I get this across tenant or that across tenant? So yeah, it's a lot easier if you pulled into just the one tenant. But yeah, great
yeah,
question, Jack.
yeah, good question. Sorry,
Oh,
back to
that's fine. So did we put the link out to this query
I'll get it out
insights?
there. I
Okay.
did not.
So yeah, so anybody that wants to follow along with it, right? So, we kind of could run through this article real quick, and then we'll get into, me trying to do a live demo and seeing if I could fail as always, which is great. I love that part of the show. So this is going to be able to show you historical query data, and it also aggregates some of the insights for you to kind of show what is run often, what is taking up a lot of the time within there, and number of rows I think is also helpful as for what I've been seeing and stuff like that. But you're actually going to be able to see the query that somebody ran, right? So this is kind of getting into when you need it, right? Query performance analysis, right? You got something that all of a sudden you see in a big spike on the tenant, or on the capacity. Got me saying tenant now, right? You could go back, look at it, say, hey, what new queries, or if you have people that get in and they're writing ad hoc queries, did somebody write that one really nasty query that is killing our tenant, right? So especially when you see those spikes, you're going to get back into this. Or it could be you're going through development, right? And then you get to the point you want to get to production, and you want to say, hey, is there anything for us to optimize, right? This is a good check before you move from dev, maybe even up into test. Start looking at things that your devs were writing and saying, hey, what could be tuned down a little bit more, right? Because the less CUs you burn, the longer before you need to up that capacity, or what we were talking about, the more you could put on the capacity for other things, right? The consolidation down, if that's how you want to do it. or just user monitoring, right? If you give a lot of people, you give them access, and you want to see, hey, are they even running queries? How many times have you had somebody sit there and beg you for access and escalate it and everything else, and you give them access and they run a query day one and then they never run it again? So we talk about user monitoring and actually, what are you doing? Are you hurting me? I see it sometimes the opposite, to kind of go, why do I have all these people have access to the data, but you're not doing anything? I've done that quite
Mhm.
a bit. Have you have you run into that situation, Chris?
Oh yeah, like using this to audit that as part of like
Hmm.
your annual review of who has access to stuff. I mean, honestly, that is a best practice. You don't want to have
Yeah,
more people having access to your data than necessary, because you never know when someone's ideas could become compromised. And
right.
we like to think that that's never going to happen, but honestly, it's going to be on those IDs that have rare to no usage where you're going to see your biggest potential for a hacker to compromise stuff. So.
Yes. Okay, so what they provide to us on the query monitoring here, the query insights, there's three different views, all underneath this query insights schema,
Mhm.
and that's in the analytics endpoint and in the warehouse, right? And then these views, the first one could return the complete SQL request, right? So it's just each time a request comes in, um, it's going to get logged. Now, later in this document, it talks about how quickly it comes in there, and what they guarantee is, what they say is that it'll be there within 15 minutes, right? So it could be
Mm.
sooner, it could be closer to that 15-minute mark, depending on how much activity you have. And then they kind of consolidate down these long running queries, right? So that's the second view that they have here. If you want to just quickly find something about a long running query, or the frequently run queries. And I'm going to kind of move down, right? We see them underneath query views, but I thought this was interesting. How are queries aggregated into the insights? And this part right here is very interesting to me, right? So these two queries to us look the same, right? And what they end up doing is they change out the predicates, because to a computer, if it was kind of fully text matching, these sets of parameters here would say, nope, they're not exactly the same. But they would substitute in parameters here, and those parameters then make these two queries exactly the same. So now they can make an exact match and say, hey, how often is somebody doing this, even though they're just giving different filtering context, or I don't want to say context, filtering values. So
I mean, yeah, and it's
it's
so cool that we have a lot of these SQL value or SQL functionalities that we would have if we were in a SQL server space inside of Fabric. And Kevin, this applies to SQL Warehouse or to Synapse Warehouse in Fabric, right?
if we're calling it Synapse Warehouse, right? Fabric Warehouse
Okay.
Object. Yeah,
What about the Lake House? Do I get this on the Lake House or no?
on the lake house, it's only when you're querying the lake house through the analytics endpoint.
Or through the SQL endpoint, right?
The SQL endpoint, right?
Okay. So
Yeah,
it would not count if someone comes in through Python, and
correct.
it would not count if someone was using those API calls against that default semantic model, right?
That's a good question.
It doesn't count,
It
sorry.
You knew the answer.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to think about it, like, because if you're saying you're coming through the semantic model is, semantic model that's hitting on the lake house,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you're hitting a semantic model that's on the warehouse, I think it is going to count. I think you
Actually, I don't think it does. But
No,
no, because it uses a different protocol.
you're right, because as long as it's hitting the direct lake part of it, then you're still not going to see it, because
No.
it's reading the Parquet files directly at that point.
Right. So this
Yep.
is anything SQL based.
Right.
you have all of your SQL tools to put on. Or just so we still have we've got nice things there. We have there are some gaps, right? That's where the monitoring app comes into play. But it's cool to see that we've got all of our SQL queries and all of our SQL functionality inside of here, right? So
Right.
you manage SQL the way you manage SQL, you manage analysis services the way you manage analysis services, and you manage your Spark notebooks the way you manage your Spark notebooks. So
Yep.
still 3 lines, we're going to consolidate it in the app, but this functionality is still there.
Correct. All right, so we're not going to go through all of their examples here. What I'm going to do is knock down, and then let's come over here. Does this show well enough?
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, let me. How could I do that in this tool? That's a good question. I'll have to keep using Zoom It as I run different queries, right?
Okay.
But what I'm going to do is I'm first going to come over. Let me hit Control and see. No, that doesn't do it. Yeah, if you find a way to do that in Visual Studio Code, I guess what is it? Control 2 is live.
Hang on. Well, while you're sorting that out, let's talk
Okay.
about some of the other benefits of that, or I'll talk about some of the other benefits of it while you sort it out. Like maybe even change your resolution of your screen so that
Okay.
you can show that better. But the idea being that you can track this stuff natively inside of the Fabric service is awesome. There is a retention period on this, and I forget exactly if it's 36 or 90 days that they keep this log information, but it's only going to be out there for X amount of time.
Yeah, I
This is
think that
what,
article says 30 days,
yeah,
but I checked this in one of my clients the other day, and I had data going all the way back to November still.
yeah. So I'd be very careful around what they say their SLAs are,
Mhm.
around what their what their service level agreement for what's going to be there versus what you need as an organization. If your organization says you have to maintain logs that go back 6 months or a year or 2 years or 7 years, like some financial organizations have to retain, make sure you're peeling this information off so that you can retain it. You can stay within compliance. Otherwise, this stuff is going to start to fall off right away, and you're going to be outside of compliance. All right, Kevin, how's it going?
Well, Copilot just gave me an idea.
Okay.
So there's a mouse zoom in here that if I could enable it.
All right. So if Control plus to zoom in, Data Blender is saying. So just if you as an organization need to peel this off, put reports on it, do so. Those reports can be huge, and there's some value that you can take out beyond just the auditing capabilities. You can use those reports to like actually track and predict your growth. So when it comes time for budget season and that your boss comes in and says, okay, hey, how much do we need to be budgeting for and planning for in the next year? You can actually go in with like realistic numbers and percent of like compute utilization and number of queries that are running. And you can start to really chart out a legitimate budget ask versus just sticking your thumb in the air and like, oh, I think it's going to be, I need a 50% increase, right? Because
Mhm.
if you do that, and you just try to figure out like, where is it? You're like, good luck on the budget. Maybe they'll give you some. My experience, whenever I've done that, you get 50% of whatever you ask for. So then you game the system to ask for twice as much, and maybe that's fine for you. But if you can bring in data and say, hey, this is our utilization, this is where it's heading, we can draw a line that by the end of the year, we're going to be consuming this much. So we have to prepare for that spend. Then it becomes much harder for them to say, no, we're not going to spend that because you've got the budget numbers of what it's going to cost, right? All right, Kevin.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, good deal.
Thanks for that tip, but I got my mouse part working too. So
Awesome.
what I'm going to first do is zoom in with Zoom It over here to this side. So I'm connected to, if you remember a couple weeks ago, we set up a database and I called it Contoso Baked because we were doing some live demos and I wanted to have something. But under this, the query insights schema, and I set up my Visual Studio Code to show me all the objects by schema name, which I fully recommend, right? So underneath the views, these are the 3 views that we were just showing in that article, right? So it's very easy to find. You'll see this underneath every single database, warehouse, or analytics endpoint that you have out there. So here I have a simple statement that is just querying from the query insights, and it's saying, give me the request history. So remember, this is the one that gives us all of the information about all the different queries. And I'm going to just sort it by start time. So I get the latest one on top. So let me go ahead and run that, see how long it takes to run, make sure it gets connected. And so we could see here, let me knock this part back down to get even a little bit more room. All this fun little information, right? So we could see that I had some queries run, I guess actually today. Wow, I haven't been doing anything. I expected this to be yesterday. I think there's some queries that run in the background. Let's see what this is. Because we could select that and we could see whatever this line is. It's not something that I ran. I think these are queries that are running that is just maintenance jobs that they have going up against there. Because like I said, I was sleeping and not running these type of things. Plus, I've been on this show. You see my screen. What are the things to kind of point out? You like that?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
We'll get into better queries here in just a second.
Has
But
Kevin been
yeah, Kevin's been busy. Look at Kevin,
Yeah.
right? Well, but the thing is, you can see there's really no elapsed time or whatever. Maybe because I'm wondering if Visual Studio. Yeah, okay. This was interesting to me. This tells you where the query is coming from. So it's
Mhm.
coming from Visual Studio Code, which now this is kind of telling me that, hey, it's probably Visual Studio Code in the background has been running some other queries to keep up understanding if my metadata changed or whatever, right? I think that's what is happening here. Kind of querying all the metadata to see if it needs to refresh that connection information. Doesn't take a whole lot, but that was interesting. I never thought about that before. And you can see I got even multiple connections through Visual Studio Code because each one of these connection IDs that's a GUID is different. So interesting. But to go back to the times, right? These times are in GMT because it is not 1 in the afternoon for me right now. We all know that. So yeah, make sure that you do your time conversion for wherever you are when you're thinking through this and trying to match things up, right? Somebody comes up and you go, hey, Joe or Sally, were you running something at 1 in the afternoon, right? No, I wasn't, got to go back to UTC time and change it all out and everything. So, okay, so that's kind of interesting, right? Just to say, here's the ones that were running lately. But one of the things that I did is I ran a query. Let's see if I can find it. It was against my customers. And yesterday I ran a query that I just did where name was like Kevin against my customer table. And then I actually started trying to go, hey, I wonder if the comments move over. And I found out comments do not come over, right? So if you want to find a particular query and you could find something in that query to search for, you could use something like this. And I uncommented that. And I'm going to search and I'm going to say, hey, find me all the queries that have the word Kevin in them. and this is what I get back.
Mm.
So now I've been able to narrow it down, and I could page over here again and bring up. You can see it was even capturing these queries I was doing against these views, right? So you might need to get a little bit more unique with it, and you can kind of tell by the row count. Here's the ones that I was running that have this 3791 row count, but here's the actual query that I was running. Oops, it didn't keep my pop-up, did it?
It did not.
No, so depressing. Not the best, maybe I should find. This is what I thought everybody loves, is Kevin failing on demos.
It is the number one thing that's been requested, is for Kevin to do more demos and then fail at them so we can watch you fail. It is.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I've been working on the master cut of like Kevin failing at demos for like a viral video that we'll release, and you can just watch Kevin fail at demos for hours and hours on that.
So what did that sticker say earlier? Don't forget about the failure and remember the lesson. So
Right.
nobody remember that I failed. Remember what you're learning from
Yes.
it.
Stina says it's a wonderful pastime.
If you can't laugh at yourself, then you're going to be mad when everybody else laughs at you. So,
Ain't that the truth? Holy cow. No.
So you could see that that query that I wrote, I ran it 3 times yesterday, right? And then I ran that other one a couple times to try to find it, right? So, but let's see. I'm going to get even a little bit more interesting. So again, we kind of filtered in. It's showing us our row counts here. How many rows came back with each one of the queries, which I think is interesting. Total elapsed time. Let me expand that column before I zoom in. Total elapsed time in milliseconds, right? So this is going to be like a second, right? These are all below that. But this may be something you want to focus in on, right? Of how long are these queries running for once you kind of find them. Another thing that I found interesting in playing with this the other day, let me try to knock this back down, is I created this stored procedure, and all it's doing is it drops a table if it exists that I called KA query results, and it's taking the customer and the sales, joining them together, summing up whatever into total sales, putting it into, it's now creating that table because it's doing the into here. Then it deletes some from there, and then it re-adds some. But this was just a matter of trying to see what happens when I run a stored procedure. Do you like stored procedures, Chris? I love them.
I'm all about stored procedures. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. So we're running stored procedures all the time, and you want to see kind of what is, hey, does this stored procedure need to be looked at, or where does this query come from? And what I noticed is I can't find the exact execute statement, but I could find a way to understand what was going on from the stored procedure. I'm going to comment this out. And since we had a table that we were working with called that KA query results, and now I'm going to go ahead and search for queries that I ran there. And you could see I ran this a couple times, and I could pretty much tell that by the pattern that was happening here, right? The number of rows that were put in and things like that. But how I really know what was going on, which ones were related, is looking at this batch ID. Let me zoom in on that, which is going to be, again, a GUID here. But you see some of them match. And so when they match, they're all considered within a particular batch.
Okay.
Right? And so in this case, when I ran the stored procedure this time, here's the batch.
Executed those 4 queries. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, right? They're all related because this batch ID is the same.
Smart. Smart.
See, and then I ran it again immediately afterwards. These ones are related because of the batch ID, right? So you could use this as a you could even, let's see, this is the batch ID. Oh, this root, I haven't dug into this one. You see, this looks to be about the same on these 4 as well.
Yeah.
What I'm willing to bet is, and we'll have to dig into this, is like if I have a stored procedure calling other stored procedures, it's going to keep the root the same. The first,
Smart.
right?
Yeah.
And I have a
Oh,
situation over in my client. I'll have to go look at that because I end up with a couple stored procedures I kind of consider the driver, right? Say like a driver to do all my dimensions, or another one to do all my facts, or combine them into just one. And it's, a stored procedure that all it does is call the other stored procedures that does that work, right? Trying to make it smaller and consolidate it maintainable. I'll have to look for that. I just noticed that today.
yeah. Hey, Fernando's asking, could you show the other 2 system views, i.e. the long and frequent?
Yeah. Yep, we're gonna get there. So he's telling us move along, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. We have 9 minutes left. We
Oh, do we?
squandered our
Sorry,
time.
I wasn't paying attention to time. I was just having fun.
Yeah. I know.
All right, so I'm gonna
bad.
just do a quick.
And I've got one thing I have to cover too at the end, real quick.
Okay. And let's figure out what we want to order this by. Let's order it by our average total elapsed time. So if we run this, we could see this is probably one we want to figure out what's going on. It's the highest in our average elapsed time. But it only ran once, right? So maybe we want to worry about it. Maybe not. I was also looking at this by what was higher in the run count, right? But once we do that, if we highlight even that row that it wasn't all that big, we will find. Oop, I got to go the other way.
Yeah. Holy cow! Yeah, tons of stuff.
Yeah. But if we come back onto this row, remember that stored procedure that I was running, right? So this is that insert, and where it was inserting the first one. I ran it a couple times, and you see it had a high average, right? So it comes up at my top, and I fully would expect that. Some of these go back in time. A couple Fabric Fridays ago, when I was doing or getting ready and populating this data, you could see these copy intos. So this came from my pipeline that I ran, because I just used the copy into function in order to transfer data from a Azure SQL into this. And then so this was our elapsed time and long running queries. It's going to look really close to the same. Let me just let it run, because I know you got something else here, and we won't resort it again, but kind of look through. Again, right, this is coming up with the same query up at the top, where it's showing here, this one I ran it 6 times. So you could use this
cool.
Right? It's got our median time, the last run time, shows you when it actually last ran, and then what all the command looks like. So you get very, very granular into this. And then we won't show it because we'll kick off to something else. But in that article that Chris put out there, if you look at the table of contents, there's also that Dax joined us. I love it. There's also a thing about using the DMVs, and we were looking through that a little bit. But if you're used to being able to see what's happening kind of real time, and you need to maybe cancel a long running query, you could use those DMVs to see what's happening now, and also use the kill command if people are used to doing that in SQL Server. If you were DBAs, to kind of kill a session that had a long running query. So all good stuff. Hopefully people enjoyed that.
Well, and honestly, I think it's cool to see it. Cool to go in and see these capabilities are still there. Know that what you can do in sequels. In DW is a lot of those capabilities still extend into Fabric. Maybe
Hmm.
not everything because we don't have hardware we're managing now, right?
Right.
Um, but still, the concepts are there. The kill command is still there, so that's fantastic.
Yeah,
All right,
I know in years past I've used that kill command quite a bit, so even on my
yeah,
own stuff,
even to
so
kill myself, right? Like,
yeah.
crap, that is a bad query. Kill it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you never know. I had a vendor say, "You can't write a query to take down this box. There's too many processors, it's too much memory. You can't do it." Uh, in less than an hour, I crashed their box. Right? Like you can do it. It's don't be arrogant. It's easy to do that. And if people are silly, they can inadvertently do that to you, and
Right.
through no fault of their own. Right? Now,
Or you could take on the challenge, so
yeah. Last topic. Last
go
topic.
for it.
Um, I've been super bad about letting people know about this, but I'm leading a fabric analyst in a day training. This is on April 4th. It's a full day of training to get people up to speed with Microsoft Fabric. This is targeted towards Power BI developers who want to get up and running and are daunted by the prospects of Fabric, right? So that's the primary target of it. I would say it might also be useful for people who are running analytics teams or data engineering
Mhm.
teams or data science teams to start to get in and play with these capables or to play with these capabilities. But the target of this is the analyst, right? So it'd also be useful to understand what training is available to get an analyst up to speed. And so, Kevin, have you been through the Fabric Analyst in a Day training before?
No, I don't think I have, so
It's really pretty cool because it takes you through a whole bunch of like common scenarios. Like, okay, hey, if you're going to source data from SharePoint or from
mhm.
SQL or from Snowflake or from what did I say SharePoint? SharePoint, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like these common like patterns that you have in your company that people use in Power BI. How would you do that same thing in Fabric and then like start to gently bring people into like what is a lakehouse and how do you use a lakehouse? How do you make that connection? How do you get that to work and get it to work right? And for
Okay.
that purposes, it's a really pretty good training. Just
So
calling out like if you're a hardcore data engineer,
so
I
you're gonna
mean,
share this link for
yes. Oh
people
my gosh. Yeah,
put
yeah,
the
yeah.
link into the chat so that people can sign up for it?
Yes, yes, yes.
And is there a cost?
This is 100% free. You get a free day with myself, and actually, I got two great Marcus Redu and Elliot Park. We're tag teaming this to make sure because we want as many people in this as we possibly can. So there are things like, I mean, there's a limit on how much we can manage, but like, please sign up. We want to make sure you have a good experience with this. So sign up for this, and we'll get you and the people in your company in and up and running. Okay.
So that's great. Yeah. So
Yeah.
free day of training, and if you could, the only thing it's going to cost you is whatever time on your calendar. And geez, if you could miss that meeting, isn't that a good thing?
Right, and it's online, so I mean, you don't have to go anywhere. You
Right.
can be in it, and I'm gonna say a lot of people on this live stream, it'll be very easy for you, but it'd be good to share to people in your company. So let's
Hmm.
get that out there. I would love to like double the number of people we have coming to it, and so I got like a couple other people I could have like help me out too if there get to be too many. I'd love to use them on this. So
That'll
all
be
right,
great.
and
All
then
right.
we've got to get going. Thank you guys all so very much. You have a Kevin. Thank you
Yeah.
for being
Hopefully we
here.
find people find this useful. Dax, thanks for showing up and sleeping through everything, not
Yes,
eating the books.
yes. Not eating the books. He's never attempted to eat the books. That's not been his thing. All
All
right,
right.
everybody.
Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks, right? Because we're not
Yes.
going to do this next,
Nothing
except
next
you
week. Yep.
pop up,
Fabric
watch for
conference.
Chris's pop ups during the whole next week and find us at the Fabric Conference if you're there. We'd love to meet you.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.